What if I told you that every morning you wake up, the universe is holding its breath, waiting for you to speak, not waiting to see what chaos will hit you first, not wondering if you'll survive the day, but literally positioned, ready, and eager to respond to your command. Sounds bold, doesn't it? Maybe even a little unbelievable. But here's what most people never realize. Blessings aren't playing hard to get. You are. Think about your typical morning. You open your eyes, and within seconds, what's the first thing that floods your mind? For most of us, it's worry. It's that mental checklist of everything we have to do, every problem we didn't solve yesterday, every obligation pulling at us before our feet even touch the floor. We wake up defending ourselves against a day that hasn't even started yet. We wake up in survival mode. And here's the brutal truth. When you start your morning running, you spend your entire day chasing peace, chasing success, chasing the feeling that maybe, just maybe, things will work out. But before we go any deeper into this, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Now, here's where everything shifts. What if you stop chasing altogether? What if, instead of waking up, hoping blessings will find you, you commanded them to follow you? I know that might sound strange, maybe even arrogant at first. But stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might completely transform not just your mornings, but the entire trajectory of your life. The teachings of Joseph Murphy have long revealed a fundamental universal principle that most people overlook. Energy responds to command, not to begging. Blessings, opportunities, and favor don't fall randomly, from the sky onto the lucky few. They gravitate toward those who stand in their power, those who wake up and declare with absolute certainty, "Today is mine. Today, good things are drawn to me." Has this ever happened to you? You wake up feeling heavy, dragged down by invisible weight, and the entire day mirrors that heaviness back to you. Or perhaps you've experienced the opposite, those rare mornings when you wake up feeling inexplicably light, aligned, and suddenly everything seems to flow. Effortlessly? That's not coincidence. That's frequency. That's the universe responding to the signal you're broadcasting from the very first moment your consciousness returns. Most people hand over the remote control of their day to their circumstances, to their phone notifications, to their worries. But what if you took that control back? What if the first words you spoke, the first thoughts you entertained, the first energy you embodied had the power to set the tone for everything that followed? The question isn't whether the universe is listening. It always is. The real question is, what are you saying? Here's the thing that nobody talks about. You can sleep for 8 hours and still wake up exhausted. You can have a completely clear schedule ahead of you and still feel like you're drowning before you even sit up in bed. That's not a sleep problem. That's not a time management issue. That's an energy problem, and more specifically, it's a command problem. You see, most people wake up already 3 steps behind in a race they never signed up for, and the strangest part is that the race hasn't even started yet. It's all happening in your mind, in that split second between unconsciousness and awareness, where your default programming kicks in and tells you that today is going to be hard, today is going to be overwhelming, today you're already late for something you can't quite name. This is what I call the morning exhaustion cycle, and it's one of the most invisible prisons people live in. You open your eyes and immediately your brain starts firing off alerts. The responsibilities start knocking. Your phone starts buzzing, or even if it doesn't, you feel like it should be. Yesterday's unresolved problems are still sitting there, waiting for you like unwelcome guests who never got the hint to leave. And peace? Peace is hiding somewhere under the mental clutter, suffocating beneath the weight of everything you think you should be doing, should have done, or might mess up today. Has this ever happened to you? That feeling of being tired before the day even begins? What's fascinating about this pattern is that it has nothing to do with your actual circumstances. You could be living your dream life on paper and still wake up feeling like you're running through mud. Why? Because you haven't taken command of your morning. You've let your subconscious mind, your habitual thought patterns, and the accumulated stress of your past experiences dictate the terms of your present moment. It's like showing up to a race you didn't train for, wearing shoes that don't fit, on a track you've never seen before, and someone fired the starting gun while you were still tying your laces. That's the sensation so many people live with every single day, and they think it's normal. They think that's just what life feels like, but it doesn't have to be. If this resonated with you, hit that subscribe button. I create content like this regularly to help you reclaim your power and command your reality instead of living at the mercy of circumstances. The truth is, the overwhelm you feel in those first waking moments isn't coming from the outside world. It's coming from the lack of inner direction. When you don't command your morning with intention, with authority, with a clear declaration of how your day will unfold, your mind defaults to chaos. It reaches for the familiar, and for most people, the familiar is stress, urgency, and that gnawing feeling of never being enough. Now, I want to go even deeper into this, because understanding the problem is only half the transformation. What Joseph Murphy taught us is that the mind responds to instruction, and the morning is the most powerful moment to give that instruction. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to take command." Let me tell you something that might lift a weight off your shoulders right now. The problem isn't you. It's not your discipline. It's not your willpower. It's not some character, flaw, or lack of inner strength. The problem is that you've been approaching your mornings all wrong, and nobody ever taught you there was another way. You've been waking up in reaction mode your entire life, and that single pattern has been shaping everything that follows. Think about it. The moment your eyes open, what happens? You immediately start absorbing the weight of your responsibilities, absorbing the stress that's been waiting for you, absorbing the fear of what might go wrong today, absorbing the pressure of everything you think you need to be. You become a sponge for whatever energy hits you first, and unfortunately, that energy is rarely peaceful. This is the hidden truth behind why mornings feel so heavy for so many people. You're not actively creating your day. You're passively receiving it. You're starting from a place of defense rather than a place of power. It's like walking into a room and letting everyone else decide where you sit, what you talk about, and how you should feel. You become a passenger in your own life, and by the time you realize what's happening, the day has already set its course without your permission. The impact of this pattern is enormous, but it's also invisible because it's been normalized. We've all been conditioned to believe that mornings are supposed to be rushed, stressful, and overwhelming. We think that's just what responsible adulthood looks like. But that's a lie. That's the default programming talking, and default programming only serves to keep you exactly where you are. What Joseph Murphy understood, and what transformed countless lives, is that the subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between a command and a complaint. It just responds to whatever you feed it most consistently. So when you wake up thinking, "Here we go again," or "I'm so tired," or "I don't want to deal with today," your subconscious mind says, "Understood. Let me create more of that for you." It's not being cruel. It's just doing its job. It's responding to the instructions you're giving it, often without even realizing you're giving instructions at all. The journey from reactive mornings to commanded mornings isn't about adding more things to your routine. It's not about waking up earlier or drinking a special smoothie or doing 45 minutes of meditation. It's about a fundamental shift in how you meet the day. It's about moving from passenger to driver, from recipient to creator, from someone who hopes things go well to someone who declares how things will go. And here's where the transformation really begins to take shape. When you understand that you've been operating from a place of reaction, you can finally make a different decision. You can choose to become the one who sets the tone instead of the one who absorbs it. Write in the comments, "I choose to command my mornings." So what does it actually mean to command your morning? It means stepping into a role you were always meant to occupy, but perhaps never claimed. The role of commander, not victim. Not a punching bag that life throws its worst at, but the architect who decides what enters and what doesn't. You see, the world is constantly trying to set your tone. It wants to tell you how to feel, what to worry about, what to prioritize, and how much energy you should have. And if you let it, it will. But here's the revelation that changes everything. You have the authority to reject that entire arrangement. You have the power to say, "No, I'm not accepting today on those terms. I'm setting my own terms, and blessings will chase me down, not the other way around." This isn't arrogance. This is alignment. This is understanding how energy actually works in the universe. When you stand in your power and declare your day with certainty, you create a frequency that attracts what matches it. But most people never get there because they're stuck in what I call default mode. Default mode is that autopilot setting that runs your mornings without your conscious input. It's programmed by years of habit, by lingering emotions you never fully processed, by yesterday's unresolved issues that snuck into today uninvited. Default mode is why you can wake up in a comfortable bed, in a safe home, with endless possibilities ahead of you, and still feel like you're barely surviving. Because survival mode is the default, and until you actively override it, that's where you'll stay. Breaking free from default mode requires a decision, a genuine shift in how you perceive your role in your own life. It requires you to stop waiting for permission to feel good, to stop waiting for circumstances to improve before you claim your power, to stop operating as if you're at the mercy of forces beyond your control. The truth behind the scenes is that most of those forces aren't beyond your control at all. They're just operating unchallenged because you haven't stepped up to challenge them. The impact of living in default mode compounds over time. One reactive morning becomes a reactive week. A reactive week becomes a reactive month. Before you know it, you've lived entire years in a pattern that was never consciously chosen, wondering why life feels so hard when you're working so hard. But the moment you understand that default mode is just a setting, not a sentence, everything shifts. You realize you can reprogram it. You can choose a different operating system for your mornings, one that runs on intention instead of reaction, on command instead of chaos. Write in the comments, "I'm breaking default mode." Here's what most people don't realize. You weren't designed to live on autopilot. You weren't created to wake up every day hoping things work out, fingers crossed, waiting to see what mood life is in today. That's not your natural state. Your natural state is command. Your natural state is intention creating reality. You were built with the capacity to direct energy, to shape outcomes, to declare what enters your experience and what doesn't. But somewhere along the way, that understanding got buried under layers of conditioning that told you to just accept whatever comes, to be grateful for scraps, to keep your head down and hope for the best. That's not living. That's surviving. And survival mode might keep you breathing, but it will never let you thrive. Joseph Murphy spent his life revealing this fundamental principle. Energy follows intention. When you speak with clarity and conviction, when you declare something with genuine expectation, the unseen forces of the universe align to match that declaration. This isn't wishful thinking. This is how consciousness interacts with reality. Your words, your thoughts, your emotional state in those first waking moments, they're not just floating around in empty space. They're creating the atmosphere you'll walk through for the next 12 to 16 hours. And here's where the doorway concept becomes absolutely crucial. Your morning is not just another part of your day. It's the doorway through which your entire day enters. Picture an actual door in your mind. Now imagine you're about to open it. If you fling that door open while panicking, while stressed, while already defeated, what do you think walks through? More panic, more stress, more defeat. The day doesn't come in neutral. It comes in matching whatever frequency you opened the door with. But here's the beautiful part, the part that makes all of this so empowering. If you open that door with clarity, with power, with calm authority, everything that enters has to match that elevated frequency. It's not that bad things can't happen. It's that your relationship to those things completely changes. Challenges become opportunities. Obstacles become redirections. Setbacks become setups for something better. The external circumstances might be identical, but your internal response, your ability to navigate them, your confidence in handling whatever comes, that's all, determined by how you open the door. This is the hidden mechanics behind why some people seem to glide through life, while others struggle with the exact same situations. It's not luck. It's frequency. It's the decision to command the doorway instead of leaving it wide open for chaos to rush in uninvited. Write in the comments, "I open my door with power." Now let me share something that will probably fascinate you. Something that bridges the gap between spiritual wisdom and actual neuroscience. The moment you wake up, your brain is in what scientists call a theta wave state. These are the exact same brain waves present during hypnosis, during deep meditation, during those moments when the conscious mind steps back and the subconscious mind becomes incredibly receptive. In other words, you wake up every single morning in the most programmable state your brain can be in. Your mind is wide open, like fresh clay waiting to be shaped, and whatever you imprint on it in those first few minutes becomes the operating system that runs your entire day. This isn't metaphorical. This is measurable brain activity showing you that the first instructions you give yourself after waking up literally set the code for how the next 12 hours will unfold. Think about the massive impact of this revelation. If you roll out of bed thinking, "Oh God, here we go again," your subconscious mind, in that highly suggestible theta state, receives that as an instruction. It says, "Understood, you want more of the same. Let me arrange your perception, your energy, your opportunities to match that expectation." And it does. Flawlessly. Your day responds with more of the same because that's what you programmed it to deliver. But here's where the transformation happens, where the entire trajectory of your life can shift with a single decision. If you rise with intention, with command, with genuine expectation that today will bring opportunity, favor, and clarity, your subconscious mind receives that instruction instead. And just as faithfully as it would have delivered struggle, it now begins arranging circumstances, highlighting possibilities, and guiding you toward exactly what you declared. Hit the like button if this connected with you. It takes 1 second, but it helps this reach someone else who needs to hear it just as much as you did. This is the hidden mechanics behind what Joseph Murphy called mental programming. Your subconscious doesn't argue with you. It doesn't question whether you deserve good things or bad things. It simply executes whatever program you install. And the morning is when the installation happens. The morning is when you either consciously choose what gets programmed, or you let default programming run again, which means yesterday's patterns, yesterday's limitations, yesterday's fears get reinstalled without your permission. The journey from struggle to flow isn't about changing your entire life overnight. It's about changing what you allow into your mind in those first programmable moments. It's about understanding that you're not helpless, you're just uninformed. And now that you know your brain wakes up ready to receive instructions, the question becomes, what instructions are you going to give it? Write in the comments, "I program my day with intention." So now that you understand your brain is programmable in those first waking moments, the natural question becomes, what exactly should you be programming it with? This is where everything crystallizes into something beautifully simple, yet profoundly powerful. There are 3 forces that must align every single morning if you want blessings to actively chase you instead of you chasing them. These forces are your words, your energy, and your direction. When all 3 line up, you create an unstoppable momentum that carries you through the day with a grace that feels almost supernatural. But when even one of them is out of alignment, you're essentially trying to drive a car with the parking brake still on. You'll move, but it'll be exhausting, inefficient, and frustrating. Let's talk about the first force, your words. And I don't mean this in some flowery, motivational poster kind of way. I mean this in the most practical, mechanical sense possible. Your words are not decoration. They're not just sounds that fade into the air. Your words are creative power in motion. Every time you speak, you are literally imprinting the unseen realm. You're sending out a signal, a command, an instruction to the field of infinite possibility that surrounds you. Joseph Murphy understood this at a level most people never reach. He knew that words aren't just communication tools between humans. They're the primary interface between your consciousness and the universe itself. When you say something out loud, especially in that theta wave state right after waking, you're not expressing a hope. You're issuing a decree. Most people completely underestimate this. They wake up and say things like, "I'm so tired," or "I don't want to go to work today," or "Why is life so hard?" And they think these are just harmless complaints, just venting, just letting off steam. But your subconscious mind doesn't categorize speech that way. It doesn't distinguish between a complaint and a command. It just hears the words and says, "Okay, you want tired? Let me give you tired. You want resistance to work? Done. You want life to feel hard? I'll arrange that immediately." This is the hidden truth behind why some people seem stuck in cycles they claim they want to escape. They're escaping with their desires, but reinforcing with their words, and words always win that battle. The impact of your morning declarations extends far beyond your own psychology. You're setting vibrational patterns in motion that attract matching circumstances throughout your day. Write in the comments, "My words create my reality." So what does this actually look like in practice? It's simpler than you might think, but it requires awareness. The very first words that come out of your mouth when you wake up need to be words of command, not complaint. Instead of groaning and saying, "Ugh, I'm exhausted," you say, "Good morning, abundance." Instead of, "Here we go again," you say, "Good morning, unexpected favor." I know it might feel strange at first, maybe even a little awkward, like you're performing for an invisible audience. But here's what's happening behind the scenes. The moment you speak those words, your internal chemistry begins to shift. Your brain starts scanning for evidence of abundance instead of evidence of lack. Your nervous system receives a signal that today is safe, that today is full of possibility, that today you are expecting good things to show up. This isn't about being fake or pretending everything is perfect when it's not. This is about giving your mind a direction to move in, rather than letting it wander into the familiar territory of worry and resistance. Now let's talk about the second force, your energy. And I want to be very clear about what energy actually means here, because there's so much confusion around this. Energy is not about jumping around your bedroom like you just won the lottery. It's not about forcing enthusiasm you don't feel or putting on some kind of motivational speaker performance for yourself. That's exhausting and unsustainable. Real energy, the kind that attracts blessings and shapes your day, is about alignment. It's about your emotional temperature. Think of it like tuning a radio. You're not trying to crank up the volume to maximum. You're trying to find the right frequency, the one where the signal comes through clear and strong. And here's the revelation that makes this so accessible. You can shift your energy in seconds. One deep breath, held intentionally for 3 seconds, can literally snap you out of survival mode and drop you into creation mode. Survival mode is that tight, constricted, anxious state where your body thinks it needs to defend itself against threats. Creation mode is that open, expansive, calm state where possibilities can flow to you and through you. Most people spend their entire lives in survival mode without realizing there's another setting available. But the switch between them isn't complicated. It's one conscious breath. It's one moment of choosing alignment over reaction. The impact of this is profound because when your energy is aligned, your words carry more weight, your intentions land with more power, and your entire presence becomes magnetic. Write in the comments, "I breathe into alignment." Now here's the third force, and honestly, this is the one most people completely overlook: direction. You can have the right words, you can have aligned energy, but if you don't know where you're going, blessings have nowhere to land. Think about it like this. Imagine someone wants to send you a gift. They're excited to bless you with something amazing, but they don't have your address. Where does that gift go? Nowhere. It sits in limbo, waiting for coordinates, waiting for a destination. That's exactly what happens when you wake up without defining your direction. You're essentially telling the universe, yes, I want good things, but I have no idea what that looks like today or where I'm headed. And so the blessings circle around you, unable to land because you haven't given them permission or instruction on where to show up. This is the hidden reason why so many people feel like they're working hard but not getting results. They're putting in effort, they're trying, they're hoping, but they're moving without direction. They're busy without being intentional. And busy without intention is just exhausting, not productive. Joseph Murphy taught that the subconscious mind needs clear images and clear commands. Vague desires produce vague results. But when you take just 60 seconds every morning to define your direction, something remarkable happens. You create a magnetic pull. You establish a gravitational field around your day that begins drawing the outcomes you've declared toward you. It's not magic in the mystical sense. It's alignment in the energetic sense. When you say something like, "Today I walk in clarity," your brain immediately starts filtering your environment for clarity. It highlights opportunities that align with clarity. It dismisses distractions that would cloud your clarity. You're essentially programming your internal GPS to guide you toward the destination you've chosen. The same thing happens when you declare, "Today, I attract solutions." Your mind stops obsessing over problems and starts noticing solutions that were there all along but invisible to a problem-focused mindset. This is the transformation that happens when you shift from hoping to commanding. You go from being reactive to being directive. You become someone who gives the universe clear instructions instead of someone who waits to see what the universe randomly throws at them. And the impact compounds quickly because every morning you practice this, you're reinforcing the pattern. You're training your subconscious to expect direction, to look for it, to operate best when it has it. Write in the comments, "I define my direction daily." Let me tell you something that might shift your entire perspective on how life actually works. The quality of your life is not determined by the big dramatic moments, the once-in-a-lifetime decisions, or the rare opportunities that come along. The quality of your life is shaped by the rhythm of your mornings, the small, seemingly insignificant choices you make before the world even wakes up. Chaotic mornings don't just make for a rough Tuesday. They accumulate, they compound. They create chaotic lives because chaos becomes the default pattern your system recognizes and repeats. But intentional mornings? Intentional. Mornings build intentional lives, one day at a time, through what I call consistent daily leverage. You gain a small advantage every single morning, and over weeks, months, years, that advantage becomes undeniable momentum. This is the behind-the-scenes truth about people who seem to glide through life effortlessly. You know the ones. Everything seems to work out for them. Opportunities appear at just the right time. Doors open that were closed for everyone else. Problems resolve themselves. And most people look at them and think, they're just lucky. Life favors them for some reason. But here's the revelation that levels the playing field. Luck is a misdiagnosis. What you're seeing isn't luck. It's alignment. Those people aren't getting special treatment from the universe. They're commanding their atmosphere before the atmosphere has a chance to command them. They're deciding the tone of their day before circumstances try to decide it for them. They wake up and immediately take control of their frequency, their energy, their expectations. And because they do that consistently, they create a pattern that appears magical to everyone watching from the outside. But it's not magic. It's method. It's the discipline of alignment practiced so regularly that it becomes automatic. Joseph Murphy called this living from the inside out rather than the outside in. Most people let external circumstances dictate their internal state. Something good happens, they feel good. Something bad happens, they feel bad. They're completely at the mercy of randomness. But aligned people reverse that equation. They establish their internal state first, independent of external circumstances, and then they watch as external circumstances begin shifting to match that internal frequency. The impact of this understanding is transformative because it means you're never actually at the mercy of luck. You're either aligned or you're not, and alignment is a choice you make every single morning. Write in the comments, I create my own luck through alignment. So let's make this practical, because knowing the principles means nothing if you don't apply them. Here's exactly what this looks like when you put it into action, and I promise you, it's simpler than you think. The very first thing you do, the absolute moment your eyes open and consciousness returns, before your mind has time to start its usual routine of worry and planning and remembering everything you didn't finish yesterday, you speak. You speak your day into alignment with a declaration. Something like, today I walk in ease, or today everything works in my favor, or today I am guided to the right people and opportunities. The exact words matter less than the intention behind them and the speed at which you deliver them. You have to speak before doubt gets a seat at the table. Doubt is always waiting, always ready to negotiate, always prepared to remind you of 1,000 reasons why today might be hard. But doubt only wins if you give it time to build its case. When you speak immediately, with authority, with expectation, you cut doubt off before it can even start talking. This is the transformation that happens in real time. You're not waiting to feel confident before you declare confidence. You're declaring confidence and watching the feeling follow. That's the hidden sequence most people get backward. They think they need to feel a certain way before they can speak powerfully. But Joseph Murphy understood that speaking powerfully creates the feeling. Your nervous system responds to the sound of your own voice, especially when that voice carries conviction. Now, right after you've spoken your declaration, you move into the second practice, the grounding breath. Sit up in bed, don't stay lying down for this, and take one slow, deliberate, deep breath. Inhale fully, hold it for 3 seconds, and then release it slowly with control. This single breath is doing something profound in your body. It's resetting your entire nervous system, pulling you out of survival mode, where your body thinks it needs to be on high alert for danger, and dropping you into creation mode, where your body understands it's safe to build, to dream, to attract good things. The impact of this breath cannot be overstated. It's a signal, a command to your biology that says, we are not running from life today. We are shaping it. Most people skip this because it seems too simple to be powerful. But simplicity is often where the real power lives. One conscious breath changes your physiology, and your physiology influences your psychology, and your psychology shapes your perception, and your perception determines your reality. Write in the comments, I breathe into creation mode. After that grounding breath, here's where you get incredibly specific, and this is where most people sabotage themselves without realizing it. They try to do too much. They wake up and think, okay, today I want peace, productivity, joy, confidence, better relationships, financial breakthrough, perfect health, and spiritual enlightenment. And the universe looks at that list and says, cool, which one do you actually want? Because when you ask for everything, you're asking for nothing. Your energy gets scattered across 20 different directions, and scattered energy produces scattered results. So here's what you do instead. You choose one clear intention for the day. Just one. Maybe today, your intention is peace. Maybe it's productivity. Maybe it's joy. Maybe it's confidence. Whatever it is, you name it, you claim it, and you let everything else take a back seat. This isn't about limiting yourself. This is about focusing your power. One clear intention creates direction. And direction creates measurable results because your subconscious mind now knows exactly what to prioritize, what to filter for, what to guide you toward throughout the day. The impact of this singular focus is remarkable. When you declare, today I choose peace, your mind starts protecting your peace. It helps you avoid unnecessary drama. It reminds you to step back from conflicts that aren't yours. It guides you toward choices that maintain your calm. And by the end of the day, you'll notice you actually experienced more peace than usual. Not because circumstances were perfect, but because you programmed your system to prioritize it. Now, right after you've set that one intention, you move into what I call the gratitude spark. And this isn't about making a gratitude list or forcing yourself to appreciate things you don't actually feel grateful for. This is simpler and more authentic. You just name one thing, one genuine thing, that you appreciate in this moment. Maybe it's the comfort of your bed. Maybe it's the fact that you woke up today. Maybe it's the sunlight coming through your window. Maybe it's the silence before the world gets noisy. Whatever it is, let it be real. Gratitude isn't a performance. It's a frequency shift. And here's the hidden mechanics behind why this matters so much. Blessings respond to frequency. They're drawn to the vibration of appreciation, like metal to a magnet. When you start your day from a place of genuine gratitude, even for the smallest thing, you signal to the universe that you recognize good when you see it, and the universe says, "Great, let me send more of that your way since you clearly know how to receive it." Write in the comments, I start with gratitude. Now here's the final piece of your morning command, and this one might feel a bit strange at first, but it's absolutely essential. After you've expressed gratitude, you make what I call an openness declaration. You simply say out loud, "I'm ready for the unexpected good that is already on its way." Read that again slowly. You're not saying, "I hope something good happens." You're not saying, "Maybe if I'm lucky, good things will come." You're declaring with certainty that good is already in motion, already heading toward you, and you're announcing your readiness to receive it. This is the hidden key that so many people miss. Blessings are often waiting just outside your awareness, circling, ready to land. But they need your permission. They need you to say, "I'm open, I'm ready, I'm expecting you." And the moment you make that declaration, you remove the invisible barrier that was keeping them at a distance. Think about it like this. You wouldn't knock on someone's door if you knew they weren't home or weren't ready for visitors, right? Blessings operate the same way. They respond to invitation, to readiness, to the signal that says, "Yes, come in, I've been waiting for you." And when you speak that openness into existence every morning, you're essentially unlocking a door that's been closed by default, by doubt, by the belief that good things only come through struggle or luck. Now let me be crystal clear about what you're actually doing with all of these practices. You're not begging. You're not crossing your fingers and hoping the universe takes pity on you. You're instructing. You're giving clear, direct commands. You're creating a pathway, a specific route for blessings to follow throughout your entire day. Joseph Murphy understood this distinction better than almost anyone. The universe doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to authority, to clarity, to the person who knows what they want and speaks it into being without apology. When you command your morning with these simple but powerful practices, you're essentially saying, "This is the frequency I'm operating on today. This is the atmosphere I'm creating. Anything that wants to enter my experience needs to match this vibration." And what happens? Opportunities that were invisible suddenly become obvious. Conversations that would have gone poorly suddenly flow smoothly. Solutions that seemed impossible suddenly present themselves. Not because the world changed, but because you changed your relationship to the world. You went from passive observer to active creator, from someone hoping for blessings to someone commanding them. Write in the comments, "Blessings follow my command." Now I'm going to challenge you, and this challenge is so simple that you have no excuse not to accept it. I want you to try this for just one morning. Not a week, not a month, not some massive commitment that feels overwhelming before you even start. Just one morning. Tomorrow morning, whenever that is for you, wake up and do exactly what we've talked about. Speak your declaration before doubt arrives. Take your grounding breath. Choose one intention. Express genuine gratitude. Declare your openness to unexpected good. That's it. 5 simple actions that will take you less than 3 minutes total. And then I want you to pay attention. Watch what happens. Watch how conversations that normally go sideways suddenly flow smoothly. Watch how opportunities you wouldn't have noticed before suddenly catch your attention. Watch how your mood, which usually takes hours to lighten up, feels different right from the start. Watch how solutions begin rising in places where problems used to dominate your thinking. This isn't about blind faith or wishful thinking. This is about testing a principle to see if it works in your actual life. And here's what I've seen happen over and over again. People try this once, just to humor me or because they're curious, and they experience a shift they can't explain away. Something feels different. The day moves differently. They move differently through the day. And suddenly they realize they've been living under a pattern they never consciously chose. A pattern that's been running their life on autopilot for years, maybe decades. And that realization is where the real transformation begins. Because here's the brutal truth that nobody wants to hear, but everybody needs to understand. If you keep waking up the same way, you will keep living the same life. Same thoughts, same energy, same decisions, same results. You can change jobs, change cities, change relationships, change your entire external circumstances, and still end up in the same internal patterns, because the pattern isn't out there. It's in here. It's in the way you start your day. But when you change your morning, you change your momentum. And when you change your momentum, you change your trajectory. And when you change your trajectory, you change your destination. This is how lives transform, not through massive overnight reinventions, but through small, consistent shifts in the foundational moments that set everything else in motion. Joseph Murphy called this the compounding effect of consciousness. Every aligned morning builds on the previous one, creating momentum that becomes nearly unstoppable over time. Write in the comments, "I accept the one morning challenge." Let me tell you what this practice really is, because I think there's been a misunderstanding floating around spiritual communities for too long. Commanding your morning, speaking blessings into your day, aligning your energy before the world gets loud. This isn't some cute spiritual habit you add to your collection of self-help experiments. This isn't about lighting candles and feeling momentarily inspired before returning to your default life. This is a lifestyle decision. This is you drawing a line in the sand and saying, "I refuse to bow down to fear anymore. I refuse to let doubt dictate my days. I refuse to carry yesterday's disappointments into today's possibilities." This is you stepping into the role of architect, taking full responsibility for the reality you're constructing moment by moment, breath by breath, word by word. And I want to be completely honest with you about what this journey actually looks like, because the last thing I want is for you to think that once you start commanding your mornings, life becomes some perfect Instagram highlight reel where nothing ever goes wrong. That's not how this works. That's not how life works. Even when you're practicing these principles, even when you're aligned and intentional and doing everything right, you're still going to have days where nothing seems to work. Days where every conversation feels off. Days where small things irritate you in ways they shouldn't. Days where it feels like the universe completely forgot you exist and is busy blessing everyone else while you're stuck in traffic, dealing with problems that feel petty and frustrating and impossible to solve. Those days are not evidence that you're broken. They're not proof that this doesn't work. They're just part of being human. The difference, and this is the critical difference, is that when you've been practicing morning command consistently, those difficult days don't derail you the way they used to. They don't send you spiraling into week-long funks where you question everything and give up on your practices and decide that nothing matters anyway. Instead, you recognize them for what they are: temporary disruptions, not permanent conditions. You still feel the frustration. You still acknowledge the challenge, but you don't let it rewrite your entire identity or convince you that you're back at square one. Joseph Murphy taught that setbacks are setups for comebacks, and that the real measure of your transformation isn't whether you avoid hard days, but how quickly you return to alignment after them. Write in the comments, "I stay aligned through the storms." Now let me tell you about something that most people are completely unconscious of. Something that's sabotaging their entire day before they even realize the day has started. Those first 5 minutes after you wake up, they're sacred treasure. They're the most valuable real estate in your entire day, and you're probably giving them away for free to whoever screams loudest for your attention. Think about what actually happens in most people's mornings. Eyes open, hand reaches for phone, notifications flood in, and suddenly you're scrolling through other people's emergencies, other people's opinions, other people's chaos, other people's energy, and you haven't even left your bed yet. You haven't claimed your day. You haven't set your tone. You've just handed the steering wheel to the collective noise of the world and said, "Here, you drive." And then you wonder why you feel scattered, reactive, and exhausted before breakfast. This is one of the most invisible traps of modern life. You're performing in a play you never auditioned for, speaking lines someone else wrote, reacting to drama that has nothing to do with your actual priorities. The impact of this cannot be overstated. When you start your day absorbing everyone else's energy, you lose your center before you even find it. You lose alignment before you even establish it. Those first 5 minutes are when your subconscious is most receptive, most open, most programmable. And if you're programming it with breaking news, social media arguments, work emails, and the general anxiety of the collective consciousness, you're essentially installing malware into your operating system before the day even loads. Joseph Murphy warned about this contamination of consciousness, this tendency to let external chaos override internal command. So here's what protection looks like in practice. You don't reach for your phone. You don't check anything. You don't let the outside world in until you've established the inside world first. Those first 5 minutes belong to you, to your breath, to your declarations, to your alignment. And that requires something most people have lost: awareness. Not the forced, performative kind of awareness where you're trying really hard to be present. The natural kind, where you simply notice that you're alive, that you're breathing, that you have this moment before the momentum of the day sweeps you away. Most people wake up on autopilot, and autopilot is just yesterday's programming running today's experience. Your body gets up, your hands go through the motions, but your consciousness isn't actually there yet. You're moving before you're awake, reacting before you're present. Write in the comments, "I protect my first 5 minutes." Here's a way to think about blessings that might make this whole concept click for you in a way that feels less abstract and more real. Imagine blessings as excited puppies. They're eager, they're playful, they're literally bouncing around, waiting for you to open the door so they can rush in and shower you with good energy. They want to be near you. They want to bless you. They're not playing hard to get or testing whether you're worthy. They're just waiting for the right energy to meet them. Now imagine you wake up grumpy, irritated, already complaining about life before your feet touch the floor. Those blessings peek through the window, see your mood, and they don't enter. Not because they're judging you or punishing you, but because the energy doesn't match. They're vibrating at excitement, joy, possibility, and you're vibrating at frustration, resistance, exhaustion. So they back away and wait, thinking, maybe we'll come back when the human calms down and opens the door properly. This is the hidden truth about why some mornings feel abundant and others feel empty, even when your external circumstances haven't changed at all. It's not about what's happening around you. It's about what's happening within you, and whether you're creating an environment where good things feel welcome. The impact of your morning mood extends far beyond your personal feelings. It sets the tone for what you attract, what you notice, what you allow into your experience. And here's something else that's absolutely critical to understand if you want to break free from repetitive patterns. Yesterday doesn't get to vote in today's election. Read that. Again, because it's one of the most liberating principles you'll ever encounter. A bad moment yesterday is not a prophecy for today. A bad day yesterday is not destiny for the rest of your week. A bad month is not a life sentence. Every single sunrise brings a blank canvas, a fresh start, a new opportunity to create something different. But most people don't treat it that way. They wake up carrying yesterday's disappointments like luggage they forgot they were holding. They bring old paint to new mornings, old stories to new chapters, old defeats to new battles. And then they wonder why nothing ever changes, why they keep experiencing the same patterns, why breakthrough feels impossible. Joseph Murphy taught that mental patterns persist only as long as you keep feeding them, keep rehearsing them, keep giving them permission to occupy today's consciousness. The moment you decide that yesterday's version of events has no authority over today's possibilities, you break the cycle. Write in the comments, "Today is a blank canvas." Now let's talk about something that affects your morning command more than you might realize. Something that operates behind the scenes of your awareness, but has massive impact on your energy, your physical environment. The space you wake up in is not neutral. It's either supporting your transformation or silently sabotaging it. When you open your eyes to clutter, to chaos, to piles of things that need organizing, to visual noise that hasn't been dealt with, you're waking up in congestion. And congestion in your environment creates congestion in your mind. It's like trying to think clearly while someone's playing 5 different songs at once in the background. Technically possible, but unnecessarily difficult. A clean, peaceful environment, on the other hand, sends a completely different message to your spirit. It says, "We are beginning again. This is a fresh start. We are creating space for new things to enter." It's an invitation rather than an evacuation, a welcome rather than a warning. This doesn't mean you need to become obsessed with perfection or spend hours every night preparing your bedroom like it's a meditation retreat. It just means being intentional about what surrounds you in those vulnerable first moments of consciousness. Your environment is either telling you life is overwhelming and there's too much to handle, or it's telling you life is manageable and there's room for good things here. And your subconscious absorbs that message before your conscious mind even has a chance to argue. Joseph Murphy understood this principle of environmental influence, how external order supports internal order, how physical peace cultivates mental peace. The journey of transformation isn't just about what happens inside your head. It's about creating conditions in your actual life that support the changes you're trying to make. Now let's address something equally important, something that separates people who sustain their morning practices from people who abandon them after a week: emotional alignment mastery. This is not about forcing positivity or pretending you don't feel what you actually feel. That's exhausting and fake, and your subconscious sees right through it. Emotional alignment means you allow your feelings to flow without letting them dictate your entire day. You acknowledge the emotion, you feel it, you let it pass through you, but you don't surrender your command to it. This is the difference between experiencing frustration and becoming frustration, between feeling sadness and identifying as sad, between noticing anger and letting anger drive every decision you make for the next 12 hours. True mastery is feeling your emotions fully while simultaneously commanding your energy intentionally. Write in the comments, "I feel," without surrendering. Here's something that will take so much pressure off your shoulders, a revelation that changes everything about how you approach these morning practices. You are allowed to reset your morning at any point during the day. Read that again, because most people think that if they mess up their morning, the entire day is lost, and they might as well give up until tomorrow. That's not how this works. If negativity hits you at 10 in the morning, you can pause right there and reset. If frustration shows up at 2 in the afternoon, you can stop, breathe, and realign. If by 6 in the evening you realize you've been operating from a frequency you didn't consciously choose, you can course correct in real time. The reset is simple, almost absurdly simple, which is why people overlook its power. 5 seconds. 1 intentional breath. 1 clear affirmation. 1 moment of realignment. That's all it takes to pull yourself back into command mode. This practice of micro resets throughout the day is what separates people who maintain their transformation from people who lose it the moment life throws them a curveball. You're not trying to be perfect. You're trying to be aware. And awareness gives you the power to choose again, to redirect, to come back to center no matter how many times you drift away. Joseph Murphy called this conscious course correction, the ability to catch yourself in old patterns and actively choose new ones in the moment. The impact of this skill compounds over time because you're no longer waiting for ideal conditions to practice alignment. You're practicing it in the middle of chaos, in the middle of challenge, in the middle of real life. And that's where true mastery lives. Now let me share something that might sting a little, but needs to be said, because it's the hidden key to why some people's morning commands work powerfully while others seem to fall flat. Blessings respond to identity, not desperation. They don't chase people who are begging, pleading, hoping, wishing. They chase people who know who they are, who stand in their worth, who speak with the quiet confidence of someone who expects good things, because they recognize they're meant for good things. You cannot command blessings from a place of unworthiness. You cannot attract abundance while secretly believing you deserve scraps. You cannot call in favor while identifying as forgotten. The frequency doesn't match. Chosen people, people who walk in blessing after blessing, don't speak the same language as desperate people. They don't rise the same way. They don't declare the same way. There's an authority in their voice, a certainty in their energy, a knowing in their spirit that says, I belong here. Good things belong to me. Write in the comments, I know who I am. Now let me give you something concrete. A script you can use tomorrow morning that carries all the principles we've been talking about woven into simple, powerful declarations. When you wake up, before doubt has a chance to negotiate, speak these words with authority. Today, I walk in divine flow. Good things are drawn to me. Opportunities recognize me. Blessings follow me. My steps are ordered. My energy is aligned. I am surrounded by favor. Notice the language here. It's not I hope, or maybe, or if I'm lucky. It's present tense, declarative, certain. You're not asking permission. You're announcing what already is. This script works because it programs your subconscious with clear, specific expectations about how your day will unfold. Your mind hears opportunities recognize me and immediately starts scanning your environment for opportunities. Your spirit hears blessings follow me and starts moving through the day with the confidence of someone who expects good things to show up. Joseph Murphy understood the power of repetition in mental programming. These aren't empty affirmations you say once and forget. These are commands you speak until your entire being believes them, until they become the default operating system rather than the exception. The impact of speaking these declarations consistently, day after day, is that you begin to embody them. They stop being words and start being your lived reality. People around you will notice the shift before you do. They'll say things like, you seem different lately, or things always work out for you. And you'll realize the transformation happened so gradually, you didn't even catch the exact moment you changed. But here's what I need you to understand more than anything else we've talked about today. You don't need to do everything I've shared. You don't need to wake up tomorrow and execute a perfect morning routine with 20 different practices. That pressure will kill your progress before you even start. What I want from you is one thing. Just commit to one single action from everything we've discussed. Maybe it's the waking command. Maybe it's protecting your first 5 minutes from phone notifications. Maybe it's the grounding breath. Maybe it's choosing one clear intention for your day. Pick one. Just one. Because one small step, taken consistently, can shift the direction of an entire lifetime. That's not hyperbole. That's how transformation actually works in the real world. It's not the grand gestures, it's the small decisions, repeated until they become who you are. Write in the comments, I commit to one action. So here we are. You made it to the end, and that says something about you. Most people would have clicked away after the first minute, but you stayed. You listened. You absorbed. And I genuinely believe that means this message found the person it was meant for. That person is you. If this resonated with you, if something shifted while you were listening, I'd love for you to be part of this community. Hit that subscribe button because I create content like this regularly. Content designed to help you reclaim your power, command your reality, and stop living at the mercy of circumstances you never chose. This isn't just motivational noise. This is practical, applicable. Wisdom you can use tomorrow morning and every morning after that. And if you're still with me right now, if you made it all the way through, write in the comments, this message was meant for me. I read every single comment, and I want to know this landed with you the way it was intended to. Before you go, hit the like button. Not because I need the algorithm boost, though that helps, but because it's a way of saying, yes, this connected with me, this mattered. And when you do that, you're helping this reach someone else who needs to hear it just as much as you did. Now there's a video right here that goes even deeper into how to sustain this transformation beyond just the morning. It's about carrying this energy throughout your entire day. Click it and continue with me over there. Let's keep this momentum going. I'll see you in the next one.